Hello, everybody. Time for another movie retrospective. Here's another one that's been requested a couple of times, and I noticed that they had it free on Tubi, so I thought now was a good time to do it as any. And since we've only done one Ken Russell film, which was Altered States, which we did a few months ago, so I decided it was time to do another one. This is kind of one of his lesser known ones. This is Lair of the White Worm.
Yeah.
Now, this movie, like most of Ken Russell's other movies, is batshit insane.
Yeah. I remember when this came out. You know, I had seen it, but I forgot all about it. I mostly just remembered the cover of the damn VHS tape.
It is a very striking cover, I have to say, with Amanda Donohoe on it, with the coming out of the basket.
I was always getting it confused with, like, Serpent and
the Rainbow. I guess because the titles are kind of similar.
Yeah.
Like they're both.
I forgot everything
about
about it. So watching it again was like seeing a brand new movie. There was the only thing that I really remembered that like clicked with me were the hallucination scenes.
Yeah,
some of them I
were
very
very Ken Russell-y.
Yeah,
and much like his other ones, and actually kind of some of the weird visions in this were kind of like the ones in Altered States, where it was kind of like, because he uses like a lot of religious symbolism. It's like, people like Jesus stuff and
religion and
nuns
sex and evil shit.
Yeah, and if you guys have seen like his older movie, The Devils, which was all about nuns and religious stuff and everything, whereas this one was more like a Christian versus pagan type of thing.
Yeah,
it came out in 1988. Now, what ended up happening with this was a thing where Ken Russell, he was I guess he was under contract to like Vestron Pictures or something, and it was like a 3-picture deal. He had made Gothic, which came out in 1986, which actually we should do that one too, because I really like that movie. So he had made that, and that was kind of successful. And he wanted to make a sequel to Women in Love, I think, which he would go on to make later on. But they said, so in between, it's like, if you make a horror movie in between that, then we'll give you the funding to do the sequel to Women in Love. So he agreed to do that. Now, he was a big fan of Dracula, and apparently had written a screen treatment of Dracula that never got made or whatever. So he wanted to do something along that. He didn't want to do Dracula, but he wanted to do something along that line. So somebody suggested to him, I guess it was a friend of his or something, was like, hey, why don't you do one of, Bram Stoker's like lesser known novels, and loaned him Lair of the White Worm, which I think was Bram Stoker's last novel that he wrote before he died. I think it came out in 1911. Now, I have not read the entire book. I've listened to some of the audiobook. It's pretty much, it's not universally reviled, but a lot of people are like, compared to how awesome Dracula was, this one was kind of a step down. Because maybe Bram Stoker was like lost his mojo. He was getting too old at this point or something like that. It's a very vampiric story, but it seemed very clunky, and it just seemed like, I don't know, like I started listening to like the first 5 or 6 chapters, and I couldn't really get all that much into it. And then, once it gets to chapter 5 or 6 and everything's N-word this, N-word that, and I was just kind of like, okay, I'm out. So, you know what I mean? It's like, you thought H.P. Lovecraft was bad. But yeah, so that was kind of that. But what he decided to do, like Ken Russell wasn't really crazy about the book either, but he did like the idea of it, of like a pagan snake cult that was still operating in rural Britain. Because he's like, this was where he lived at the time, so he thought it was like a neat idea that maybe there'd be this like creepy cult like from ancient times that was still like lurking around, like just in these fucking rural English towns where no one would think about it. So he basically just took the kind of bones of the story and moved it up to the modern day and put it in Derbyshire, I think is where he said it, and kind of ran with it from there. Now, I think in the book, there was like an aristocratic lady, like that was the villain, that just like in the movie, although there was also a dude. They were like a pair. So, because I think like the whole point of the book was like the aristocrats like sucking dry the working class and the common man and stuff. Because, Bram Stoker being Irish, he was kind of like, he had a lot of like anti-English stuff like in his work. So he kind of went a lot into that. In this one, Ken Russell said, I didn't really care about the guy villain because he wasn't that interesting, but he did think that the woman was interesting, the one that like fed the snake and everything like that. So he basically made her the main villain. Yeah. And I think that was probably a good idea because she's easily the best part of this. Now, I will say, I don't know if I would call this... It's a horror movie in the sense that it has horror elements. But Ken Russell, he has come out saying that he's like, I did intend this to be a comedy also. And he's like, and I feel like a lot of people didn't really get that at the time. Even though if you watch it now, it's clearly...
funny shit.
Yeah, it's really, really funny. In the way that like an Oscar Wilde play is funny. It's like, the repartee between the characters is like really witty and...
Yeah.
There's like ridiculous situations and...
Yeah, I don't know anything about the original story. I don't think it's really relevant to the movie. If it is, whatever. You look at the movie, it's a damn vampire movie.
Yeah.
There's a lot of crossover in this. A worm, when they're talking about worm, they're talking about like the Germanic version of a worm, a dragon.
Yeah.
Dracula his father was in the Order of the Dragon, and Draco, and so there's kind of some crossover between dragons and vampires. And that's what this is. It's kind of like a dragon or a snake-like dragon. And it makes vampires, and the ones that serve it are kind of like vampires. They bite you, and you turn into one.
And you turn into one.
It's that same fucking thing. Dracula, I guess you could say, is more of like a wolf or a vampire bat vampire. These are more like snake vampires or dragon vampires.
Yeah, so this is almost like a vampire movie that isn't...
It's like a reboot.
Usually called a vampire movie.
Yeah, it's like a reboot of the vampire genre.
Yeah.
You're rebooting vampires just, off the top. I thought it was a great movie, though. This is not a movie of its time. It's just not. This is not an 80s movie. This is like a 60s British movie or a 70s British movie.
It comes across like a Hammer film on acid.
Yeah.
Or like a Hammer...
More sexual, a lot of nudity in it, lots of cool shit, weird fucking hallucinations. It also kind of reminded me of the Tom Baker Doctor Who episode without Doctor Who.
Well, interestingly,
it could have been Doctor Who at any minute.
Well, this movie, Peter Capaldi is in it when he was young, playing Angus Flint, who was a Scottish archaeologist, and he was actually he played Doctor Who later on.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So there you go.
Yeah,
so maybe that's why that gave you that vibe.
Kind of reminded me of like Doctor Who and the Loch Ness Monster. That episode.
Yeah,
or
because
Doctor Who, and it just was like a Doctor Who movie. That's what I thought.
It was kind of, and they used like an actual, apparently like an actual real like British legend, the Lambton Worm. Yeah. So he wanted to kind of tie that in with the vampire thing. Like I said, this is essentially a vampire story because the woman who's like the feeder of the white worm, she's snake-like, but she has fangs. She has like, creepy eyes. She can hypnotize people. She can, if she bites you, it like passes on and all this other stuff. But technically, it is a vampire movie, I guess.
Yeah.
So, all right. So like I said, so Peter Capaldi is in this when he's very young. Looking like, because we kind of made jokes that he was like looking like Egon Spengler.
Yeah.
It's fucking Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that's the dude from Ghostbusters.
Harold Ramis, yeah.
That's what he looked like.
He did kind of look like, because he had like the big fluffy hair and everything. Yeah. Also a very early role for Hugh Grant. This was actually before he got real big.
Hugh Grant with a unibrow.
He did have a little bit of
a unibrow.
Like, it wasn't all the way across, but there was, like, a little bit there. Yeah. But he was, like, he's, like, baby Hugh Grant and, like, baby Peter Capaldi are in this.
He did a good job, though. All the acting is good in it.
I feel like poor Hugh Grant, he always gets... I mean, I guess it's because of the voice or whatever, but he always gets stuck playing, like, these upper-class twit types, like, in all the fuck... Which is exactly what he plays in this. He plays, like, the Lord of the Manor. Yeah. Which I guess, like I said, in the book, he would have also been a bad guy, but he wasn't a bad guy. He was a good guy.
You meet the dragon lady, and the dragon lady shows up. She's in this white fucking coat and a damn white tricordered hat.
I love that. I loved her fucking fashion in this.
Yeah, she looked like fucking Adamant from fucking Stand and Deliver video. and then she started to look. Then sometimes she started to look like Susie Sue.
Yeah, she had
Susie
some nice
Sue
S&M outfits.
In her dominatrix outfit. It was a good movie.
Big old thigh-high boots.
Yeah, fucking being sexually predacious on underage men.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out like how old that boy was, because it's like she picks up this guy like
he's
this
in the Boy
kid.
Scouts, yeah.
Yeah, he had his little Boy Scout hat.
He wanted
to go back to the youth hostel.
Yeah.
And she like talks him into like coming back to the house because it's raining and he's all wet.
She's trying to seduce his ass, you know what I mean, with all this fucking sexy outfits and stuff, and he's not really responding. It's like he doesn't even notice. And it's fucking ridiculous.
Kevin. Yeah. Poor Kevin.
Right. And, as the audience, you're thinking she's going to try to screw the kid, but no, she was going to fucking kill him and eat him or feed him to the fucking dragon.
Well, yeah, because her whole thing, her name is Lady Sylvia Marsh in the movie. Yeah. They've changed it, I think, in the, she was called Arabella something or other in the book. But it's, the equivalent. So she's basically the guardian of the Lambton worm, the white worm, that lives, like, underneath the ground. It's like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like you said, it's like the Loch Ness Monster kind of thing, where I guess, like, a long time ago, now, the Christian v. pagan stuff, that I don't think was in the book, but Ken Russell, you know what I said, he loves, like, his Christian imagery and all this other kind of stuff. So he really, like, hit it hard in this one. He even renamed a bunch of the characters, like the two sisters that run Mercy Farm are named Mary and Eve. Everyone has, like, biblical names.
Yeah.
And there's even a scene where, like, Amanda Donahoe, who's, like, the bad, the villain, she's, like, up in a tree, like, tempting Eve. You know what I mean? Yep. She's, like, the snake lady and stuff like that. Yep. So it's very, very obvious that that's...
the serpent in Genesis and shit.
Right, that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
So apparently what it is that a long time ago, like, thousands of years ago, like, when this area was called Mercia... there was a pagan cult that worshipped this worm or dragon. It's like a big white dragon that's like 200 feet long or something. Yeah, I mean, obviously, this movie came out in 1988. Yeah. So, come on. Right. Like I said, it's free on Tubi if you want to watch it.
You might want to watch
Gothic is on there as well, which I might do in a little while. So I think that's the only Ken Russell movies that were on there, because I want to do The Devils too, but it's like, I wish that was on there, but it's not.
It's good movies, a bunch of lesbian action in it and shit.
There's this is like a very, and like I said, like most Ken Russell movies, this is like, it's very like perverse, and there's like, you get to see Amanda Donahoe naked, painted blue, wearing a metal like thing with a big huge spiked dildo on it.
Yeah.
So,
she's doing,
checking for virginity and whatnot.
It's all kinds of fucking weird shit.
This is the kind of movie that it is. I'm just saying right now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I liked it though, man. It was you couldn't make a movie like this today.
It's a weird fucking movie.
They would cancel this movie.
I mean, like I said, all of Ken Russell's movies are weird, and this isn't even his weirdest one, but this one's pretty weird. And like I said, it does have all of this thing with the vision. Now, one thing that does kind of weird me out is that, so the two sisters, Mary and Eve, they live in this at Mercy Farm, which is like an inn, you know what I mean? Like, people stay, they have lodgers and stuff like that. And a year before, their parents had gone missing walking home from the pub, and nobody knows what happened to them. They just, like, vanished off the face of the earth. And so, so at the start of the story, they're kind of dealing with that. And then, like, Peter Capaldi's character, Angus Flint, he's an archaeologist, and he has come there, like, he's researching, like, Britain's pagan past and all this other stuff. So he finds a skull that everyone thinks at first is maybe a dinosaur skull, but they're not really sure what it is. I mean, spoiler alert, it's a big, like, fucking dragon skull type of thing. So he finds it, and they're going to try and figure out what it is. Then they find this kind of mosaic down there that has, like, a big white worm around it and shit. And then it turns out that this pagan cult there was a temple there, and at one point, like, when the Christians took over, they, like, subsumed and, like, wiped out most of this cult and built a nunnery on top of it. And apparently the adherents of the snake cult were none too happy about it. But the worm has been down there the whole time. Now, I don't know, they don't really go into Lady Sylvia Marsh, because she lives in Temple House, and I don't know how long she's lived there. I don't know, because she said she was immortal.
Yeah, and you know what? You watch it, and you see what they're doing. It's almost like an homage of a movie called The Hunger.
Yeah.
It's pretty much a character like the woman from The Hunger.
Yeah, like Catherine Deneuve's
character. Yeah, a stylish, fucking, upper class, witty vampire chick. But she's like a vampire lizard. Snake. A snake pyre.
I saw somebody else like review this, and they said
snake pyre.
Snake pyres.
Yeah, it's what they're like.
That's essentially what they are. And she really, really hates Christianity because she's in Mercy Farm and she sees like the little cross on the wall.
Yeah, she doesn't want you playing music because she'll get mesmerized because you can charm them like snakes.
And that's actually one of my... I mean, there's a lot of really great scenes in this. Like I said, don't go in expecting this to be scary because it's very, very campy.
Kinda.
But it knows that that's what it is.
It's scary in the way that a British 60s horror movie is scary.
Yeah, it does have like a Hammer kind of vibe to it, too.
Yeah, where it kind of has a macabre and perverse kind of element to it. It doesn't have jump scares or anything.
No.
It doesn't really have any, like, body horror or anything on it that I remember. And there was not really. There was a little bit of gore.
There was some gore, yeah.
A little bit of gore, but not a lot. It's just
because some people did get killed and get bitten and like get kind of like eaten and shit.
I didn't really find it to be an offensive movie, just entertaining. I just thought
it is very entertaining. Like I said, it's one of those ones
weird imagery when they get bitten or something. The poison affects them in weird ways. They have all these visions and shit of. You'll see. Just weird perversity mixed with Christianity and
like I said, there's
snakes and dragons and
shit. There's Jesus up on the cross and there's a white snake around it and there's nuns and there's like they're all getting raped by weird knights and then there's fire and
they weren't knights, they were by Romans.
Or Romans, yeah.
And then like weird things of like that hot snake pyre chick blowing this fucking spike phallus. It's all bloody and shit. The thing, remember that? She's like blowing it.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, and it's like all this is happening on the same screen and the effects are fucking weird. It does look like an acid trip.
He does, like I said, he does that a lot with that kind of green screen collaging kind of thing. He did that in Altered States as well, and I can't remember. I haven't seen The Devils in a long time, but I think he does that in that too. So he seems to really like that look. And so to me, that look always looks very Ken Russell-y because I guess he likes... Because it's real stuff, but the way it's like layered and because it's green screen, it looks unreal in a way that like is kind of unsettling.
Yeah, and the people that are experiencing are all getting fucking, they're they're getting debilitated by it.
There's little fucking spiked dildos going into everybody's stomachs and going up the thing and the deal and everything. But yeah, it's like I said, this is like a fucking so you get the two sisters there. And you got the snake lady who, what?
I'm saying another thing about the movie. See, I got to bust in because, for the guys out there, I got to fucking nip it in the bud. Were the girls good looking? Yeah, they were. They got one girl on there.
That's all they care.
Yeah. They were good looking. One of them's got this blonde little short haircut, got this square head. She's pretty cute. And then her sister, she's pretty cute too. And then the vampire girl, she's pretty cute. It's just, you know what I mean? And then they got Hugh Grant for the ladies, and then they got Egon in there, I guess. Scottish, macho Scottish guy who's pissed off at this fucking upper-class kind of effeminate jock boy played by Hugh Grant. He's kind of tough. Well, he's tough in a way that a fucking, jock is tough, I guess you could say. But motherfucker's just kind of annoying, too, because he's just so what the British call twee.
Yeah, he's very twee.
Twee, yeah, just too twee for his own good. He'd get laughed at in the U.S.
Well, I mean, he's Lord of the Manor.
Lord of the Manor, and
he knows about the in the movie, even though the legend in Britain is called the Lambton Worm, and they even use a version of the song, which is a traditional British folk song. They do kind of a cool like pogsy kind of thing.
And the Scottish guy gets pissed off at all this tweeness and tries to fucking stop it and he tries to actually deal with it directly because they're dealing with a fucking dragon, Even though Mr. Twee's ancestors was out there killing the dragon.
That's what I was just going to say.
That's how they got the damn...
It's called Dampton because that's like his last name. He's like Lord Dampton.
Which I think he did end up killing it the second time, didn't he?
No.
It was Egon that killed it.
Egon killed it.
I'm going to call him Egon.
Peter Capaldi killed it.
Yeah. What was the name of that character?
Angus,
that's right. I knew it was going to be some shit like that.
And he was wearing a fucking kilt, too.
Yeah, and he was fucking playing bagpipes and shit.
This is like a scene that a lot of people write. They're like, this is how ridiculous and awesome this movie is. There is an actual scene where Peter Capaldi, in a kilt, plays bagpipes
to fight a vampire.
To charm like a fat cop who has been turned into a snake pyre.
A snake pyre, yeah.
And he's like leading him like around the fucking shit.
And it doesn't matter if it's nighttime or daytime. They can walk around.
Yeah, they're not vampires in the sense that they can't walk around. They can walk around. Well, because a snake doesn't just
They
walk around.
don't seem to need to drink blood either. They could just bite you.
Yeah.
They weren't drinking blood.
No, they weren't.
They were eating food.
So I'm not real sure. Like I said, I don't want to delve too much into like the mythology behind it.
Yeah.
But I mean, Lady Sylvia, her whole deal was she was like the guardian of the worm, and she was the one. She was like looking for virgins to like feed to it because that's what was his favorite thing. Now she did feed like other people to it that weren't virgins, but she would kill them first and just throw them in there like that's like the garbage food. So I guess the virgins were like the delicacy that he got every now and then or something.
She said that she fed the virgins to them while they were alive.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The other ones he killed them and then just
threw
threw them in there and just like fucking...
Yeah, and just like a British movie, they delivered, man. The fucking, they got a good looking cast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the English they did that shit right. They knew how to. In a lot of ways, British movies were better than American movies. They actually kind of had people that acted. You know what I mean? They got their jobs because they could act. In Hollywood, it mostly was dependent on who you were blowing and how much blow you had. That kind of shit got you into the movies. So they could act, and they looked good. And the movie actually, the special effects of the movie were pretty cool. Like the underground scenes, the makeup.
Yeah, I thought it looked pretty good, actually.
Yeah, it looked real good.
Like for 1988. They show the worm like at the bottom and like, you can tell that it's probably like green screened or it's miniatures or whatever, but it still looks cool.
And you're not talking realism here. You can tell that it's a set, that it's stages and shit. And it is kind of theatrical. The acting is kind of theatrical.
It's kind of over the top.
It's kind of over the top. But
it's kind of all along the spectrum.
Yeah.
I was going to say that the two sisters, theirs is a little over the top too, like the way they talk and stuff. Now, I think, please correct me if I'm wrong, but Catherine Oxenberg, who plays Eve in this, I think she's, the weird thing about this is I think she's an American. And they said, well, we need an American actress in this because, of course, there has to be an American in everything or for some reason. And so they put her in there, but then they dubbed her over with a British accent, which I thought was very strange.
Sometimes you saw shit like that happen because there was a bunch of contracts in between studios.
Yeah, that's true.
Where if you want to make a movie that you want to release in the United States, there has to be a certain amount of American actors in it. It's probably something like that.
I just thought it was really weird that it's like they kind of went out of their way to say we want an American actor, but then they dubbed her over.
It was probably for legal purposes.
In a British accent.
It was for contractual purposes.
Unless there was a different version of it when she used her own voice. Because you could very clearly tell that was not her voice.
Because this movie was, I remember when it was released in the United States and people were watching it. My friends watched I watched it. And we liked it. I just forgot everything about it.
Yeah.
Forgot everything about it.
It's one of those ones that kind of fell through the cracks, I feel like.
Yeah.
Just because, Ken Russell, like a lot of people really like Ken Russell movies, but everybody talks about Altered States or maybe, The Devils or something like that. But I feel like by the time the late 80s had rolled around, maybe he didn't get as much attention as he did, like in the 70s and early 80s maybe. I'm not sure. Like I said, this isn't my favorite movie of his, but this is one that I think I first saw it. I don't think I saw it in the theater, but I caught it on cable. And there was something about it because I really liked a lot of British movies anyway. And there was something about it I really liked. I really liked the perversity of it. I really liked like a lot of the really weird imagery.
Yeah, and it wasn't really perverse by today's standards.
Not really, but like for back then it was a weird
shit was racy
movie. Yeah.
Yeah, they were getting sexual and stuff when they shouldn't have been. Like going after young boys, girl going after young boys.
Putting him in the tub.
Trying to put him in the
playing
tub.
snakes and ladders.
My mother doesn't do this for me. That kind of weird shit. It's fucking bizarre.
It's like, that's what I mean. It's like, it's actually, it's really, really funny.
Yeah.
Like all the shit, like she's like cleaning his back. Like he's in the tub and she has like her fucking thigh-high leather boots on.
Yeah,
and like this little,
she's wearing a slingshot.
bra and like all this other shit. And then like he's in the tub.
And he's not even noticing.
And he's just like, whatever, this is nice. Like she's got the loofah on his back. And he's like, doesn't she say something like, don't you have a girlfriend that does it for you? He's like, no, my mom doesn't do this for me either. And I'm like, that would be weird if that happened. Because the kid, I'm like, dude, you're like 17.
Dude was totally clueless, and she's coming on to him, and he's just like, yeah. Doesn't even pass his mind.
He was just like very guileless, like, oh, whatever, okay, this is how this kind of thing happens.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about this, and I think I told you this last night, was that I'm not sure about, because her thing is that everything is like snake-like. Like everything she says has something to just like, oh, I hibernate in the winter and I do this, that, and the other thing. So she makes him, they're laying out on front of the fireplace like with all the pillows and shit, and they're playing Snakes and Ladders. Now, I'm not sure, I didn't realize, because in the US, if you didn't know, it's Chutes and Ladders. So I thought for a long time that the Snakes and Ladders thing for that movie was just a thing that they made up for that movie. But then I found out later that no, in the UK it actually is Snakes and Ladders.
Okay.
And not Chutes and Ladders. So I guess when they adapted it for Americans, they thought we were like too big of pussies to have a board with snakes on it, and they thought it'd be too scary for kids, or I don't know what the deal was. I don't know if that's what the Snakes and Ladders board in the movie. I don't know if that's what the actual board looked like, because I've never seen one. Or if that was like a version that they just did for the movie.
I don't know.
But I just thought that was really funny, because I was just like, oh, Snakes, that's neat how they did that for the movie. And everybody's like, no, that's what the game is. Like, that's not, that Chutes and Ladders. What the fuck is that? But yeah, so like I said, this is on Tubi for free if you want to watch it. It's, it's kind of like, I don't want to say it's like a guilty pleasure, but don't go into it thinking it's going to be like this terrifying, scary movie or anything like that. It's very campy. It's very wry. It's very, there's like, they're quoting like Oscar Wilde and shit like that. It's just kind of like a Noel Coward play, like these kind of witticisms and all this other kind of crap. There's just funny shit in it. Like I said, this Peter Capaldi with his bagpipes. There's a mongoose in there. There's all kind of crazy shit in this movie.
I'm gonna stick with my analysis. It's like an old '60s Hammer horror movie.
Yeah.
It's also kind of like a 1970s Doctor Who.
It's fun. It's a fun movie.
It also kind of has some kind of like feelings of like the '70s fucking Sinbad movies.
Yeah.
Like when they're in the fucking the dragon's lair. It kind of looks like an underground scene from any old British horror movie, like, fucking, what is it, fucking Voyage to the Center of the Earth, or Sinbad or something. Kind of reminded me, some of the tone kind of reminded me of a movie called The Legacy. Remember how they run around with all the rich people and stuff?
Yeah, we did a review of that.
It's kind of like The Legacy in a certain way, but it's just a good movie.
And it's funny too, because like I said, I feel like Ken Russell was, saying that he didn't want it to be taken completely seriously, and that he made it as like kind of to be comedic, even though, because he's like, well, horror movie, that could encompass a bunch of different things.
It's real dry humor, though. It doesn't really come across that way.
He's like, I guess people, he's like, it kind of became like a cult sensation in other countries. They're like, they especially really dug it in Australia and stuff like that. He's like, in the UK, it's like, he's like, I felt like they wanted to take it seriously, and it's like, I didn't really intend for it to be taken seriously. And he's like, and I don't understand why they didn't get it, because, I mean, the way this ends, he's like, it's almost like the punchline of a joke, and it seemed like nobody really got what the joke was. So
I didn't really get the joke either.
Well, it's just the kind of the way that they ended it with, and here's, like I said, a big spoiler alert, where you think that Peter Capaldi's character, Angus, has come up with an antidote. Yeah. And he injects himself with it, and he's like, oh, it worked on me, blah, blah, blah. But then you find out, like, him and Hugh Grant are in the car, and then he finds out that that the antidote, like, the hospital, like, mixed up the antidote, and they gave him something else that wasn't anything to do with the snake venom, so that he was actually going to vamp out momentarily. Yeah. And then Hugh Grant's, like, driving in the car going, man, I'm famished. We should stop for a bite. You know what I mean? Yeah. And Peter Capaldi's looking at him like, yeah, I'm going to turn him into a vampire, too. Yeah. So it's just kind of like, I mean, it was so obviously funny at the end.
Yeah, it didn't strike me as funny. It just struck me as any other monster movie.
It's like a horror movie where it's like, wah, wah.
Yeah. But if that's what he intended, then he failed. It was just, it was just funny. A monster movie. It's just a monster movie.
Yeah, but like I said, it's goofy and ridiculous, but it's also like super fun, and it really has like a lot of really cool.
I didn't really catch goofy and ridiculous that much either in it, though.
Oh, I guess I did.
Yeah, that's just you. I didn't really.
No, that's everybody else that's reviewed it.
It was just. But that was the tone of a lot of horror movies, though. Then
that's true. Yeah.
So I just kind of grew up with them being like that.
Yeah, I did too. But
it didn't really stand out.
Yeah.
As anything that special. I mean. You could by that measure, you could also go back and say, yeah, Altered States was just a big joke. Because it was actually kind of like Altered States It just had a little bit more of a sexual humor to it.
I thought it was like way more over the top than Altered States, though. Like in a self-aware kind of way. You know what I mean? And it seemed like a lot more campy.
Maybe.
Because Gothic was like that as well. Which is the one that came out right before this one.
Tonally, it kind of reminded me of that damn Serpent in the Rainbow.
Yeah, see, I didn't get that either. Because Serpent in the Rainbow is not not super goofy or not funny, really. Like,
yeah, well, I didn't really think this one was that goofy or that funny. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Maybe... but, you know, there's a big difference in my sense of humor and yours.
Yeah.
I mean, you laugh at shit, and I just look at you like, what are you laughing at? You know what I mean? Because it's like some high intellectual humor about some author or something. Maybe you get it, you know, but I don't get that, you know what I mean? But then if I see somebody punch somebody else in the face, I'll start laughing. Or if somebody, you know, I got like a child's sense of humor.
You do, yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
although shit like that is funny to me, too. I mean, well, depending. It's like... depending on who's getting punched in the face.
Yeah, I mean, I have like a slapstick sense of humor, and I like a lot of musical humor. If somebody kind of, you know, makes, you know, if they bust out singing and it's relevant, you know, you just have to, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. That's what tends, like when we watch Mystery Science Theater, that tends to be
if they start singing.
The thing that gets the biggest laugh out of you is if they start singing.
If they start singing,
something.
I start fucking laughing.
Like, you know, with some song and then they put their own lyrics in there.
For me, humor isn't intellectual. It's fucking...
It can be lots
of...
Well, there's a huge... I mean, that's the thing. There's a huge spectrum of funny shit.
Yeah. So, when I'm watching this, there was really nothing I thought was funny.
I thought a lot of the shit was funny.
I didn't think it was funny.
I did.
That's what I'm saying. There's different kinds of sense of humor.
There was, like I said, there was witty humor, and then there was like... you know, there was self-aware, like, absurdity kind of humor, too. Yeah,
but I just thought it's kind of, you know, amusing or kind of corny.
And I meant...
The only thing that I thought was funny out of the whole movie is when Hugh Grant was pretending that the pencil was his dick. I thought that was funny.
On the plane. That was a what-the-fuck scene. Yep. Like, he dreamed that he was on a plane...
Yep.
And that he was a pilot, and that, like, all the women in the movie...
were making out and shit.
Had like stewardess outfits on with like, you know, garters and everything.
Became like a stewardess fantasy.
And then they were like rolling around like with like a cat fight, and it's like
and
then he was like tied up to the thing.
Yeah.
I still don't get what the symbolism of that was. Like, why a plane? Why is he dressed like a pilot? I don't know. It's just weird.
High.
I guess it's just like this fucking weird thing that happens in the middle, and you're just like, okay, suppose so. Now the part where he was like, the whole shit with him and his, like, manservant or whatever, I liked that. That was fucking funny. Yeah. Like, because his manservant looked like he was just 5 seconds away from going, fuck you, dude. Because he always, like, treated him like, so, oh, draw me a bath, do me this and that and the other. Like, you know, very twee and everything. And the guy just looked like he wanted to fucking stab him.
Yeah, I saw that, but I didn't have any kind of emotional... I saw that, but I didn't have any kind of emotional response.
That was very funny.
I didn't think... you know, it's not funny.
And then Hugh Grant's like fucking, he's fighting with a thing and he like fucking falls over a fucking drum kit and all this other kind of shit.
Yeah.
It's like, it was really, really funny. It's like they tried to make him look like, it's almost like they tried to make him look ineffectual, but they didn't want to make him look completely ineffectual because he did do like some heroic shit and everything. Although, like I said, it did turn out that Angus did.
My sense of humor is just too Dave Chappelle. You know what I mean? That's my sense of humor.
I wanted to say, too, that Amanda Donohoe, who plays the main villain in this, she was actually not the first choice. He wanted Tilda Swinton, but he sent the script to Tilda Swinton, and she was like, no, thanks. But Amanda Donohoe, she read the script, and she's like, that looks like a lot of fun. If she'd been, like, in a fuck ton of stuff and was in a fuck ton of stuff after that, but she just wanted the opportunity to just like go all out and just like play this really over the top villain, like with all these great outfits and like be all quippy and everything like that. So you can tell she's having a fucking blast like playing this role.
Yeah, it was a good character.
But yeah, so like I said, it's on Tubi for free if you're into Ken Russell and you haven't seen it, and you kind of like vampire movies that are not exactly vampire movies, then maybe you should go check this one out. It's actually pretty entertaining.